My mission is simple, to help you protect your family and keep more of your money. I'm here to help level the playing field for families and those who seek the truth. There's always a new way to make money, but at the end of the day, it's your family's security and your legacy that matter. And I promise to help you protect what's really important to you. Legacy Money starts now. Hey guys, how's it going? Barry Page, Legacy Money, the show that helps you live more, give more, and leave more. I've got a great show for you today. It may be my last live for a little while. Having some back issues, so not sure about the future with that. And doing these, it takes a lot of time and effort to do this. But I will be continuing with Legacy Money, so just be with us. We'll probably be doing more recordings. But I really like doing these Wednesday shows, and especially on a day like today, Fed Day, as it's been called. And there's a lot of hype always leading up to today. And if you just turn on the news, you know that the Federal Reserve, the FOMC, met today, the Federal Open Market Committee, as they call it. And Jerome Powell spoke, and they have decided not to raise rates, to leave rates as they are. But hey, they leave it open for what's going to happen in the future. And so my question to you is, do you ever feel like you're being manipulated? Do you ever feel like the markets are being manipulated? I mean, every time that the Fed meets, there's all this hoopla. I mean, every news outlet usually covers it live. It's like when the president is speaking, something is happening. So Jerome Powell certainly has a lot of power, and the Federal Reserve has a lot of power. And I want to just kind of maybe take you back a little bit, prior to the meeting. What is the Federal Reserve? What are they doing? It's really kind of interesting. If you want to do a little research sometime, just study J.P. Morgan, study the Federal Reserve, and there's a couple books behind me here that you definitely, if you're interested in this topic, might want to read. In the Fed by Ron Paul, who you may remember ran for president, ran 3 times actually, was never elected, but got a few more votes and delegates each time that he ran for president. And the next book there, that's really the book that uncovered the Federal Reserve for most people. I know for me, it opened my eyes. G. Edward Griffin, the creature from Jekyll Island, who ironically, I went to a funeral last week. My uncle died. He was 96 years old, had a good life, and worked for the post office, retired from the post office. He was a baseball player prior to that, was in the Army, and worked for the railroad. So he had 2 pensions, but he lost his pensions. He didn't get both of them. He only got one. They changed the laws with that. So just as you're doing your homework studying the Fed, you might study the IRS a little bit and how they change these laws. It's real ironic how these things work. But J.P. Morgan, it says in this story, your story here, the man who sparked a financial revolution. And they go on to talk about his legacy, and certainly he has a fine legacy. It's, there's a nice story on him and his son that I've seen a couple times, and he helped create our banking system as we know it today. But you really have to understand, what the Fed was about. And so I do encourage you to do some homework on the Fed. But, moving on, the title of this particular episode, Market Manipulation. And, I wanted to get a slide for the markets and what they've done so far this year. But if you look at what has happened in the markets, you probably know that they're off the chain, the growth, primarily in the NASDAQ. And you just have to ask yourself, how is that happening when we have, crazy inflation? You keep hearing that the jobs are out there, but are there really more jobs, or are people just going back to work and people working 2 or 3 jobs? So it's always interesting when the Fed meets. Now, I wanted to kind of bring you a little up to date with JP Morgan today. This is Jamie Dimon, who is the current CEO of JP Morgan. And he said back last year, the Fed has lost control of inflation. As you see, February of 23 is when he made that statement. And that was on CNBC. And Kramer chimed in on that. But has the Fed lost control of inflation? I mean, their stated role is to control the money supply. If you go to their website, and as you're probably experiencing, inflation is out of control, as Jamie said. So the Fed manipulates rates to more or less dictate things and take control. But is it working? They've raised rates, and we hear when the Fed meets, are they going to lower rates? Everybody has already priced in the Fed lowering rates again. And that's why the markets have been going up. Obviously, we've got a tech boom going on with all this AI and whatnot, but are people buying it? That's really the question. What's causing the boom? Is it just investors, people buying these stocks? Because I don't see a lot of, in my practice, I don't see a lot of people with extra money, discretionary money to buy stocks or even to buy crypto. People are gambling. I often tell people, where I live, I'm 10 minutes away from the casinos in Biloxi. I'm in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. And, you can cross the bridge and you're in Biloxi, and casinos, and you can gamble, right? You can roll the dice and gamble with your money. And so I think that's more or less what people are doing with tech stocks now. I've been around long enough to know we had a tech boom in the 90s, and then we had a crash of the market, early 2000. And so a lot of those stocks, they went up and then they went down. What goes up must come down. So I encourage you just to do a little research and really try to grasp what's going on. See if I can pull up this quote here. I'll just have to read it to you from one of my colleagues. And well, it's I'll have to find that. But I just want you to understand that there's a lot going on. And so last week I had somebody on the show that was an investor in Bitcoin, and just since last week, Bitcoin's down 7.3%, which doesn't sound like much when it was going up. It's been up 190% this year. Ethereum is down 13% whenever it's up about 130% this year. So there's a lot of volatility out there with a lot of these assets, and we really don't, know what's going to go on. But I wanted to show you something here because people say that, this cryptocurrency, Bitcoin especially, it can't be manipulated, because there is a finite supply of it. And but what a lot of people don't quite understand is that the biggest owners of Bitcoin are the government and the Fed. They own more than anybody. So, and they've confiscated a lot of that, just like they confiscated gold. Uh, so FDR confiscated gold, I believe it was in 1935. And, who knows? I'm not saying they're going to confiscate Bitcoin, but they can box it in. You may have heard um, the line, "Don't fight the Fed." And so, does the Fed look at crypto, Bitcoin, as a competition? Maybe, but you got to understand what the Fed's job to do is to support the dollar in every way that they can. And a lot of people, they were concerned just a year ago, a lot of hype, a lot of news about the dollar crashing or the dollar going away as the world currency. The Fed's pretty strong. And so in that case, I would not fight the Fed, even if you're an owner and investor in Bitcoin. There's a lot of room for it to grow, but just understand that the Fed and kind of control things. And they don't have to do it themselves, right? They have allies. The SEC just made the Bitcoin ETF recently. And so what that allows is institutional and public buying into it. And so in that way, they can manipulate the market. So I'll just kind of show you, if I can here, where the DOJ, as you see, former JP Morgan, there's JP Morgan's name again, right? Precious metal trader sentenced to prison. Now, you didn't really hear a lot about that in the news. That was just last year, August 20th, 23. This is from the Office of Public Affairs, the U.S. Department of Justice. And, it was in the news, but very little was heard of it. Here's the, the Reuters, I call it Reuters, news story. $920 million fine for manipulating precious metals, the Treasury market. That was gold, silver, palladium. I'll actually read from the article there. It says, according to court documents, between approximately May of 2008 and August 2016, Smith and Nowak, people that you probably never heard of, along with other traders on the JP Morgan precious metals desk, engaged in widespread spoofing, market manipulation, and fraud scheme. So $920 million, a lot of money for you and me, but was it just a slap on the wrist for JP Morgan? And why did not Jamie Dimon go to jail? I don't know. It was these guys, though, that actually, are supposedly serving a prison sentence for that. A lot of people say, well, why didn't people go to jail after 2008, 2009? And perhaps they will, perhaps someday there will be some reckoning. But I just wanted to share that with you, because people say that, gold and silver, can't be manipulated. Well, there you go. It has been. And perhaps that's why it hasn't increased, in value compared to the dollar. It's been pretty flat for years. So maybe it should have increased in value in comparison, to the dollar. And so what will happen, next? What will happen with, crypto? Bitcoin, these ETFs that are now being out there. And, there's a lot of talk, well, put your Bitcoin, or now you can buy Bitcoin as an ETF. Why not put it in your IRA? Again, I just laugh when I see people doing this or see these ads, because, really the people bought crypto. They tell me, most people, that, to get away from the control of the government. So I don't know. So again, the markets have been manipulated with gold and silver, and who's to say they're not going to be manipulated with crypto? The markets, just again, if you just look at the news and the hype, every time the Fed meets, the markets go up, right? Or they go down. And you tell me, is that market manipulation? Just the fact that the Fed is going to meet, it presents a problem to me. But here's some more recent news. Earlier this year, JP Morgan, again, CEO Jamie Dimon sells 150 million of his shares, SEC filings report. So I don't know what did that do to the market when he's selling his shares? What do you think is going to happen with bank stocks after something like that? And then just here recently, Jamie Dimon. Now, I kind of like this comment. He said, urges the Fed to wait past June before cutting rates. So he's kind of giving advice to the Fed there, right? I mean, don't cut rates until June. Again, he's been speaking out against inflation. So I kind of like his comments on that. He understands that when the government spends money, the Fed prints money, that's what causes inflation. So again, Jamie Dimon, CEO for JP Morgan, urged just this June of 23, he's encouraging to wait till June of 24 to cut rates. So I don't know. You have to ask those questions yourself. Is that market manipulation? What is really, going on? And I wanted, in case you missed this, just last week, we've been told that this inflation thing, and again, you really have to understand what is inflation. Everybody, we see the news and, the cost of goods are going up. Well, why are the cost of goods going up? Is it really that the value of our dollars are going down because there's so many dollars in circulation? But in case you missed it, I wanted to share this with you.
Now, I regret saying it was transitory. It has come down, but I think transitory means a few weeks or months to most people.
So Janet Yellen, the former Fed chair, now running the U.S. Treasury, probably the most powerful, in my opinion, one of the most powerful people in the world right there. Janet Yellen, former chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell's job today, and now in control of the U.S. Treasury, admitting that when she said last year that inflation was transitory, that it is not. And it's permanent, folks. So, the price of goods, even if the Fed lowers rates, the price of goods are not going to go down. Okay. The money is in circulation, and I don't see them, they're going to sell off assets. They're going to do different things. They're going to continue the market manipulation. So really, is there, anything that you can do, that I can do, that we can do to stop this, right? So again, I just talked a little bit about crypto and decentralized finance. Can we get away from the Federal Reserve? Well, I believe you can. I believe that we can succeed personally in our own personal lives if we have our own private reserve. So we don't have to borrow money from banks. And what I advocate is something called infinite banking. You can become your own banker. You don't have to get involved with all the shenanigans. Every time that you borrow money from a bank, you're contributing to the problem of inflation because that money doesn't actually exist in real life. They take your deposits, and then through the fractional reserve lending, they're able to loan out more money than you have on deposit. And so that within itself is inflationary. Another way that inflation comes about, again, is by debt, government spending. It's not just our debt. It's not just our borrowing the money, but the government borrows money to the tune of about $1 trillion are being created. You may have heard these statistics every month now. And that's a pretty big number. Just the interest on our debt is expected to be $1 trillion this year, just the interest. And we throw millions and billions around like they're nothing, but you start talking trillions, you're talking some real money there. And that's money that we owe, and that is just the interest. So where will that money come from? So remember, there's two ways the government gets money. They collect taxes and through inflation, right? The government doesn't really make a profit. They spend money on all of their businesses. I mentioned my uncle being a postal worker. The post office, has lost money for decades. Only time it really made money was when Lance Armstrong and his team was winning the Tour de France. And of course, they stripped him of that. And I tried to sue Lance Armstrong, of all people. And he's the only time that they ever really made any money, that they were profitable. Amtrak. Our office is right here by a railroad track, and they're bringing Amtrak back to the Mississippi Gulf Coast here. They've been testing it, so that should be open soon. But Amtrak doesn't really make a profit. Name a government entity that's profitable. It's not Social Security. It's not Medicare. Those are broke. Those institutions have been broke since they were created. And, we unfortunately are living in a world where those filthy rich people. I have a client that recently called me and told me they were taking her Social Security check. This lady is right at 70 years old, and she's barely scraping to get by. And because she has some assets, they're trying to take her Social Security. So decentralized finance. Well, infinite banking is decentralized finance. You can get away from the central bank, the Federal Reserve. You can create your own system for finance. You can literally become your own banker. You're not starting a bank from scratch. You don't have to go get a location. This is something that you can do on your own. So if you'd like to learn more about that, you can go to our website, legacyinsuranceagency.com. You can schedule a time to meet. And but first, I'd recommend you read this book, Becoming Your Own Banker. You can get it online. You can get it from our website. You just go to the shop and it's there. So get the book, read it, and you'll learn how you can become your own banker. and how you can take control of your finances so you never have to depend on the Fed. You don't have to get caught up in all of this frenzy, this hype every time that the Federal Reserve meets. And you don't have to get caught up in the market manipulation, and literally watch stocks go up and stocks go down as soon as you buy them. Same with crypto. There's a lot of room to grow, and I'm not saying you can't make money in either of those, but if you're like me, you don't like to lose money. And I personally have lost money. I've lost money in the stock market. I lost a lot of money in the stock market right out of college whenever I basically put all of my savings after working and saving money, lost all of it in the stock market. I've lost money in real estate. I love real estate and I love the stock market, but I've learned. And, unfortunately, though, those are two places that most people have the bulk of their savings. So there's a better way to save. There is a better way. And I'd encourage you to read this book and learn about it. So that's really all I have for you today. Again, I'm not sure how many more of these lives I'll be doing, but whether or not you're joining me live or you're watching this on the replay, please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell so you'll be reminded when I have new videos. And check out some of our past videos. So if you'd like to learn more, I have lots of videos on the infinite banking concept. And I do appreciate you joining me today. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care and have a great day. Do your homework.